And good morning and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster and I'm touching base with you as I do every day. Good morning. How are you all doing? It is Wisdom Wednesday and we have a special guest today. Oh, I'm so excited. We have the great Anthony Roland who's going to be sharing with us. I told him, I said, we're going to talk about sports photography, but he does a lot more, but we're going to share about all his work. But I think we're going to really dive into the sports story, and because we don't get to hear too many stories about sports photography, and so you know how we roll on Wednesday. So Wednesday we're not gonna go into politics, even though I would love to go into politics. But tomorrow, I guarantee you, tomorrow Gwendolyn will be my host tomorrow. And we are going in on the headlines tomorrow. So make sure you join us tomorrow for the headlines. We are going to have a great time sharing the headlines of the day. Because Chris will be on the road. Chris will be in the air, matter of fact, at the same time that we're on. So he'll be out and Gwendolyn will be in. Okay, Chrissy's in the building. Good morning, Chrissy. Chrissy's Corner is in the buildings. And she says she learned something yesterday when yesterday we talked about share, the share button. And here's Miss G. There she is. Good morning, she says. And I see who else is in the building. Kelly Yay is in the building. Good morning, everyone, she says. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And yeah, so today is one of those days. I'm so excited because Anthony's in the community. We met Anthony, I think, through Omar. Omar introduced him to the community. He's been here ever since. It's been so cool. He's like one of the pillars. So just hanging out. But there are some things I want you to know also before we get started. Just so you know, some what do you call it? Housekeeping stuff. Tomorrow we'll be having our Patreon um, uh, class. It's just a Q&A, so I haven't advertised anything. Those that show up, show up. It's going to be on we're going to be on StreamYard. So I'll send the invitation out in the Patreon community if you want to hang out with us. We're just going to have a Q&A, talk about photography, questions you might have. That's what we're doing tomorrow evening. After this, I'll be in Queens today, photographing a school event, which I'm so excited about through the Brooklyn Conservatory of Music. Again, shout out to the Brooklyn Conservatory of Music for always using me for their services, or using my services for their services. And what else do I want to share with you? Also, the GoFundMe. We are doing a GoFundMe for the students of Information Technology High School. So make sure that you go to the link. There's a link on my Patreon page. I will put the link onto the Instagram and YouTube as well. So make sure those links will be there for GoFundMe, and that's to support graduates who cannot afford their graduation dues and their prom dues and all the stuff related to graduation. If they've made it this far, if they've gone through all of this rigorous work for the 4 years in high school, we can help support them in getting those final touches on their graduation. Graduation day is so important, especially to high schoolers. It's the first real big event that they will experience. So make sure that you follow through. I have it everywhere. GoFundMe on the high school, Information High School graduation fundraiser. Make sure you do that. Also, if you're interested in more of my photography, black and white, make sure you go over to Ron Lewis Foster. That is on my Instagram page, so you can check that out as well. And let's see, I already talked about the Patreon Q&A. That's on Thursday. That's tomorrow night. So we are good on announcements. Okay, let's see who else walked in the room. Because, sometimes you just can't just hop all the way in these things because guess what? A lot of folks are not here. They're still coming in. Hey, Bryson is in the building. Bryson is in the building. Hannah is in the building. And I am Miss Reese is in the building. And Burrow's in the building. What's going on, y'all? Okay. Without any further ado, without any more hesitation, we're going to, well, first of all, let me just say, I went through Anthony's page. I went through his Instagram. I went through his website. And this gentleman has an amazing photography. The one, like I said, the thing I'm most fascinated with is his sports photography. I mean, he does a lot of genres, like several a lot of us in this industry. We have several genres we do well. But I am always fascinated by sports photography. And so I said, what do we talk about today? And so that's where we're going to probably dive in the most. But we're going to dive into other things as well. But this is our first time verbally speaking to each other. We've always talked chat on, obviously through through our community, but I'm so excited to be. Let me just get this thing off the screen here. Let me get that off. There we go. I am so excited to welcome Mr. Anthony Roland. What's going on, sir?
Hi, everybody.
Anthony. So, we have a couple of things we ask our guests in the beginning. So I'm going to ask the same questions. I got them all lined up for you. And if you were stranded on an island, what food must you have, sir?
I've been thinking about that every Wednesday. I gotta have clean water.
Clean water. Whoa. No sparkling?
Yeah.
How about sparkling?
Nah, I don't need the frills. Guy got it right the first time. I'm good.
No extra bubbles. No extra bubbles.
I mean, if you got like the OG clearly Canadian, I'll roll with that. But yeah, but the Perrier and all of that, I'm good.
Nice.
Good. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And so here's another question for you, sir. Because we do this thing. 3 fun facts about Anthony Roland. That most people don't know.
I don't. I really don't. Fun facts. I'm funny. I guess it's more of a weird fact than a fun fact. I have this irrational, like my fears are irrational. Like I will go ziplining 500 feet, 600 feet in the air, but I got this thing about Ferris wheels, or I like fast cars, but I don't like roller coasters. So
you're one of those. It's like me jumping out of a plane going skydiving, but I don't like roller coasters.
Right.
See, I don't like roller coasters, but I will jump out of a plane. So okay, that's interesting. And well, that puts us on the map here. So how did your photography career begin? What was it that said, when was the moment you picked up a camera and said, I love this. I want to do this. I want to take the camera out every day or every chance I get and photograph. Or what did you start photographing? What's your first thing you start photographing?
Well, that answer's twofold, actually. So when I initially got into photography, I was 15 and I wanted to get out of class. That was it. That's
really?
the story.
Was it was your hooky plan?
Yeah, it basically was. So I have a friend who's still best friend to this day, Sean Simon, who was a yearbook photographer at our high school. And we would hang out, and he would be out and taking photographs at various events and things like that with school. So I noticed he was getting out of class early because you got to go to wherever you have to go, to get set up or, what have you. So, whether it's a football game or, basketball or whatever it was. Right. So, one day I'm like, tell him I'm with you, and it worked out, and he talked to the teacher that was over that, and I was able to get out, and I started shooting with him.
Hmm.
But then it started to become fun. And some of my favorite photos to this day was shot with this consumer Canon film camera that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of, well, not a lot, but there's some photos in the yearbook that I took that I'm still proud of to this day. Um, and then fast forward, I put the camera down not long after high school, and
Mm-hmm.
then picked it back up back in 2001. Um, I moved to Baton Rouge, and I got into car culture. I was already into motor racing. I was probably one of the few black people in New Orleans, which is where I'm from originally, that was in
Mm.
motorsport. I would watch the Speed Network daily, religiously. My mom would think something was wrong. He's like, I just don't understand how you can just watch cars go round and round all day long.
Mm-hmm.
But I was fascinated. I loved it. So when
What
I
was
moved,
it? What was it about that made you so fascinated with them? I mean, like you said, the cars are just going around and around. But what made you? What made you like? It brought you joy to watch. What was it about it?
the moves on the
Mm-hmm.
track, um, it takes an incredible amount of skill to be going that fast, and you're literally inches away from the other car when you're going
Mm.
to make that pass. So it was things like that. um how tough these people were, because you crash your car and then you just get up and walk it off,
Mm.
that kind of thing. um so when I got into car culture in Baton Rouge, I ended up buying my first. This is when digital cameras first came out. So
Okay.
my first camera was a Hewlett Packard digital camera.
Hewlett Packard made
A Hewlett,
cameras.
yeah, they did. And you had your little small S micro SD card or whatever it was back then. And that was it. That's what you had. And it had like a 1 inch screen on the back that you can see, what your photo looked like.
Oh man, I didn't even know they dabbled in photography
Yeah.
cameras.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting one on eBay just for old time's sake, because I lost all that stuff in,
Mm.
in the storm in Katrina.
Wow.
Yeah. So speaking of, so I moved to California. After that,
So so when you were living in Louisiana,
mhm.
you were living in Louisiana during you went through the Katrina
No, I didn't go
event.
through it.
Oh,
Thankfully, I
okay.
missed out, because that weekend when the storm hit, I was helping one of my friends move, and he moved
Okay.
to Gonzales, which is about 15 minutes outside of Baton Rouge. I had just moved back to New Orleans from Baton Rouge.
Wow.
Um, and Yeah, so that weekend, like, he wakes me up like 5 a.m. He's like, you might want to call your parents. And I'm looking at the television, I'm like, oh my goodness. So it hit, and it was a lot worse than we anticipated.
Yes.
Thankfully, my family got out, and they're fine. They're back in New Orleans. They live in New Orleans now. um so after that, I moved to Northern California, Antioch
Wow.
side of the Oakland side of the bay in Antioch. I lived there for about a year, and then I moved to Dallas
Hmm.
because I reconnected with my friend at the time, who then became my girlfriend, who is now my wife, Dana.
Mm.
So she's been living in Dallas since 2001. She got recruited out of college. So moved back here, and we took a trip together. We went to Italy. This is our first time traveling internationally. A group of us, we all got together, and we went to Italy. So Dana's like, we need a camera. So me being me, I went on, did research, and did what I did. And I said, well, we're going to travel into Europe. You're doing the research about pickpockets and things like that. So I said, I need something compact and that's going to get the job done. And let's see, I pulled it out because I still have it. So it's a Canon Power Shot.
I think we
So
all had one of those. Like
yeah,
I had the
this was
Sony one that
yeah,
looked exactly
children.
like that.
This is before cell phone cameras, children.
Yes.
This is an antique right now. This
I
so
remember those traveling with those babies.
right. And so to add to that second part of the question is that's when I fell in love, fell back in love with photography. Like really was like, this is I love this and this is what I want to do. So the photos that I got in Italy, of course, the architecture is amazing. This was our first European trip,
Mm.
and it was amazing. And so I got a bootleg copy of Lightroom. To the people of Adobe, I pay my subscription now, but back then I didn't know how to use it or anything like that. So I'm on YouTube getting lessons and things like that. And and I'm just playing around with the JPEGs out of a Canon
Mhm.
PowerShot. And it was just like, yeah, this is it. So we went on what we call we went to where did we go? This was after we got married. Went to Napa,
Mhm.
and it was two young ladies from Australia. They had a big Nikon D800, and I'm still out there with the Canon PowerShot. And we're talking about photography, and I'm just looking at this big DSLR, and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. And they're giving me tips and everything on, how to shoot raw and what's the benefits of shooting raw and things like
Mhm.
that. So then when we got back, went to Target and got a D3200 with the two kit lenses.
Wow.
And I still got I still
You
got
got
that one as
collectors
well.
going. You save your cameras, all your cameras.
So or I mean they're special. I mean
Yes.
so um and then from there the rabbit hole just got deeper and deeper and deeper. And this
Yes.
is like some of the stuff that I've have printed, behind me. Um, you know, and this was I said, in 2016, I say, you know what? This is what I want to do. And out of all
Wow.
the careers and all the jobs that I've had in my life, photography is the only thing that I've ever chosen solely on my own.
Mm.
And I just kept coming back to it over and over again. And um, so I think it's like when you know.
Yeah.
I worked as a chef. I washed windows. I did so many things in my lifetime, but it was at the suggestion of other people. So,
Mm.
well, it's like, oh yeah, you should do this or you should do that, or you're smart, you can do this, you can do that. And I'm like, yeah, all right, cool, I'll do it. That's one of the ones from Italy.
Oh, this one right
Uh,
here.
yeah, that's shot from the gondola.
Look at that. Your beginning of your career.
Yeah,
And you did good.
thank you.
Wow. So now you have pictures on the back of your wall.
Yeah.
And why is it important to you to print your photos
Mhm.
and then put them into on your wall as a gallery? Why is that so important to you?
Oh, I
Because you
got a
got a
story
lot of
for
photos
that.
behind you.
I got a story for that as well. So,
Okay, I want to hear it.
so my friend Blair, he has he had a Savage Chat series that was going
Mm-hmm.
on, and he was interviewing a lady by the name of Montez Miller. And excuse me, and she was with BET for a while, and she's photographing sports now as well.
Mm.
But she had a wall that I saw in the background, and it was just like all these politicians and athletes and things like that, and I was just like, wow, that is so cool. And at the time, this was when vision boards were really popular, and I said, I want to do
Mm.
a vision board, but my vision is too big. I have to have a cork board the size of a whole room to put everything that I want to do on that. So I say, you know what? This is my vision board. You know,
Wow.
so I went online to look and see, well, what do you have to do to, like, what's the best way to lay out photos for a gallery wall? And I read it for about 2 seconds and just
Mm-hmm.
chucked it to the side. I think I laid out maybe 2 or 3 photos on the floor, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to just start putting these things up here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can really see,
Mm-hmm.
but
We can see some of them. Yeah, we can
it's
see.
symmetrical and asymmetrical at the same time, and that wasn't on purpose. That's just kind of like how it happened.
Wow.
So so whenever I walk into my office, that's the first thing I see.
It's interesting because a lot, I was talking to another photographer on Monday. We were hanging out for doing lunch together, and we were talking about the importance of putting your work on your walls,
Yeah,
because it's one thing to have it in your camera, but it does something. It solidifies something within yourself as a photographer when you actually walk in your room and see your work on the wall, and
right.
creating these galleries within your space. And so it just makes your career more meaningful.
Definitely.
And how does it, when you walk into the room, obviously, does it, what does it make you feel? The first thing when you see, every time you come into the room, sometimes you may pause, you may pop in. What does that gallery do for you?
I remember when I first put it up and I walked in, because I walked in maybe 2 days after, and it was like an explosion.
Hmm.
When I looked at it, I was just like, wow. Like, this is my work. There's nothing on this wall that I didn't do.
Yeah.
And some of it's just everything that I like, that I love. And they all have a story. And that's the amazing thing about it.
Wow. Well, man, I could go so many directions with questions for you. One is New Orleans is one of the most amazing places to live.
Yeah,
It's one of the most amazing places to visit. And
right.
I'm finding out so many cool people that I'm meeting over these last 3 years of I guess 3 or 4 years. Because I've been really spending time photographing in America versus overseas.
Hmm.
And I've been meeting a lot of people from Louisiana, and from the state of Louisiana. And it's just been really fascinating to see all the talent that comes out of that state. There's so much talent in Louisiana, but I'm going to digress because I want to let it go for another time. But
Right. Yeah.
here's let's look at some of your sports photography here. And how did you? When was the first time you picked up well, should I say, when was the first time you decided to go professional as a sports photographer?
So those shots are from my very first F1 race that I shot.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of delved into the story before the show came on. So I met a guy. I just give the condensed version. So I met a guy.
Oh, you got time. You got
Okay.
time.
Okay. So I went to Lowe's. I was my wife and I were in the process of getting our home theater together. And so I'm going there to buy paint and supplies and things like that. And as I'm coming out, I see a kid with his dad. He's a Cub Scout. He's selling popcorn. And so I didn't really pay it any mind. I was just like, I need to get back to the house, about to head back and get started on this room. So I get halfway down the street and I realized, I was like, well, shoot, I forgot something. So I double back, I go back in, and And then when I'm coming out, sorry, my light went off. Um, I'm coming out. I said, well, you know what? I'm working on this home theater. Let me
Mm-hmm.
get some popcorn and support, this kid at the same time, because I grew up as a Cub Scout as well. So I'm getting the popcorn, and I noticed that Dad has on a Laguna Seca T-shirt. So
Mm.
Laguna Seca is one of my favorite racetracks. It's home of the Corkscrew, and it's out in Monterey, California.
Mm-hmm.
So, we going and chatting about the shirt, and I say, well, I'm a photographer, and I want to get into photographing motorsports. So he says, well, I have a guy I was in the Navy with, and he shoots motorsports. I'll be more than
Mm-hmm.
happy to introduce him to you, and give me information, and I will pass it on to him. So it's like, all
Mm.
right, cool. I'm thinking I'm not gonna hear from this guy for a while, right? Because he's out there with
Right.
his kid, right? And
Right.
life and things like that. And I'm just some guy he just met. I hadn't even gotten home, and I got a text from a guy named Chris Baylor,
Mm-hmm.
who's a photographer, a local photographer here. And he does a lot of seniors and things like that, but his heart is on the racetrack.
Wow.
And so he texts me, and he's like, let's connect. So fast forward, we meet up at I think we met up at like Razoo's or some sports bar
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. And we're talking about getting into sports photography. And he's like, well, you can bring your gear to Circuit of the Americas. So, he knows the track. He spent a lot of time in Austin, and
Okay.
and we talked about just, black sports photographers, especially in motorsport. You don't see them.
Yeah, and that's something we were talking about before we came
Yeah.
on air, is that I've gone to sporting events, and one of the things I mean, I've always liked sports photography. I always said I always wanted to do sports because I love the speed. I love
Right.
the action of moving. So I mean, I do it now with cycles, bikes, like stuff that
Right.
like hobby, just kind of
Yeah.
like just to do it in the park.
Right.
But it's when you go out, you rarely saw black photographers
Hmm.
in the sports photography arena.
Right.
And I was just always like curious, like where are they? So when I started going through your work, and when Omar introduced you to this community, and I said, oh wow, look at this stuff, look at this sports. And then you mentioned about sports photography.
Hmm.
What does it feel like to be one of few black photographers in the sports world, as in racing?
Well, the thing is, in that, as I was getting through the story, so let me finish the story real quick, and I
Oh,
can,
okay.
I can answer that.
Yes.
So he's telling me that you don't have to be credentialed
Mm.
to bring your gear. So I said, oh well, that's cool. What's the process? Like, what do I have to do? So he's like, yeah, just get a general admission ticket for the weekend. And at the
Okay.
time, a weekend pass for Formula One was like $100 for those
Mhm.
3 days, which is amazing today. And then he's like, don't park at the track. There's parking around the track. You can just walk. It's cool, and it's a lot cheaper.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, I'm going to be out there. I can take you to all the hot spots and everything, and we'll get some shots or whatever. So it's like, all right, cool. So he was in negotiations with a publication at the time to
Wow.
he was going to be credentialed at the race.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, that fell through, and then he had another obligation. So I drove out there, went out there, did everything that they said. I went to Aperture Rent and rented a Tamron 150 to 600 because I needed
Whew.
something with some reach.
Yes.
And I already had, at the time I was shooting with a Nikon D500, so I'm set, gear wise.
Yes.
But now I'm out there by myself, and this track is huge, and I don't know anything, right? So I'm out there green, and
Mm.
I'm looking at the back of the camera and I'm like, ooh, I am nailing it. I am nailing these shots. And I was not. I was
You
not.
thought
I
you were,
realized,
right?
yeah. So what it was, I was shooting way too fast. I'm
Ah.
shooting at like 1500, because I'm like, I gotta these cars are going fast. I gotta freeze them, but
Uh-huh.
that's not how you shoot race cars. That's not how you shoot fast objects. So at least not when they're perpendicular to your lens. You want to shoot slow and pan so you can get the
Yes.
wheel spin and the background blur and things like that. If they're coming head on, then yeah, you can shoot fast to get that nice sharp shot so you can, you get the helmet in focus and all those things. But I didn't know any of those things at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like lap 47. I'm in the shade now, and I'm looking at the back of my screen in the shade. And I'm just like, it looks like all these cars have broken down. They're like parked. There's like the wheels have completely stopped. So I hurried up. There's like 50 something laps. So I got like less than 10 laps to get this right. And so, my last few laps, I made the best of it, and I got some good shots. But yeah, that was my training day, so to speak. Um, but yeah,
And you bring
and
up a good point though. People are usually they think, oh, I gotta get the speed, like I gotta get the fast shutter speed
right,
to go with the car moving or the motorcycle moving or the
mhm,
bicycle moving, whatever. But they don't realize for photographers that are in this field, it's like this when he's talking about freezing freezing the object or the subject, but then you get all these amazing blurred lines because it's showing the motion and speed.
right.
So just so
You're
people know
shooting at
exactly what
like,
you're talking about.
yeah, and you're shooting at like 60, 1/60th of a second,
Really
1/80th
that
of a
low?
second. Yeah, yeah. If you want to get like really good blur, because it all depends on how fast the object is moving as well, right?
Yeah,
But to get like really good blur, yeah. I mean, you can
I
get,
did not know that.
yeah, and you get that nice clean wheel spin to where it's spinning so fast that you can see right through the wheel and you can see the
Yes, I
roller
see,
and the,
like
and the
here.
caliper. Yeah. So so that's that was at Texas Motor Speedway at the autocross. And those cars, they were moving fast, but not nearly as fast as say a car would be on a traditional racetrack.
Wow.
But it looks that way. So, and that's part of the reason why a lot of photographers get offended when folks say, "Ooh, your camera takes good pictures." No, the camera's a tool, and we take good pictures. So,
This
um,
is and you don't just do cars, but you do motorcycles as well.
yeah,
You do anything that's got speed.
anything. If I can get in, I'm there. I'm actually there's one this weekend, but because I'm traveling with my family and we're going to a Disney cruise. So yeah, so I gotta forego that one for this weekend.
Look at this.
That's
Do
from
you is there some kind of like
Now that's when I figured it out.
adrenaline?
That's when
What's
I
that?
figured it out.
Oh, you figured it out at this point. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's gotten real sharp now. But
right.
is there an adrenaline that happens when you're photographing this? Um, and when you captured this, like this is a great shot. When you get the shot, what are you feeling? What are you feeling on the inside?
A big old smile. This is like I nailed it. And you taking a couple thousand pictures to keep, 10 or 15.
Mm.
So, they say your keeper rate is between 6 and 10%. So, um, in a lot of cases, but like your best of the best, it's going to be like 10, 20, at least for me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
That with experience, that's going to go up, but it's a rush. It's a rush to know that you've nailed it because you're swinging this big lens, and the one that I have now is a tank. It's pretty heavy. I shoot with 200 to 500 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you use a model pod, or do you use it freehand?
I freehand it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. There's been days I'll bring it and I
Okay.
want to use it because I see other photographers use it.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is I'm not credentialed. I have yet to be credentialed. It is
Gotcha.
very hard. So I'm shooting all this stuff as a spectator. So I'm wherever you see spectators,
Yes.
excuse me, that's where I am.
Gotcha.
So I find the photo holes. Some of them were created, quote unquote, by other photographers that might have, cut through the fence. I never saw anybody do that, but I've seen the aftermath of it and I take advantage of it. But the photo holes are roughly about 4 feet wide and about maybe 1.5 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that was a shot of my gallery wall
Yeah, you look at
after I
gallery
put it
wall.
together. So so I'm kind of squeezing in, so I have a lot of them that look panoramic, and it's because you got to shoot through two fences at times.
Mm.
So there's challenges that's associated with that as well when you go there.
Here's a
Um,
question from G. She says, what exercises are you doing to keep the back and muscles in motion? Those lenses are heavy.
um, I mean, I work out regularly, so I'm pretty fit. Um, I don't while I'm out, I'm not eating anything crazy. I'm not drinking anything crazy. I drink a lot of water. If I need it, I keep a leave in my bag. I'm gonna be 45 next month, so and I've done a lot of manual labor
Mm-hmm.
growing up, so things kind of take a toll on you, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I spend a lot of time on my feet, but I've always spent a lot of time on my feet.
Okay.
You
Wow.
know, so yeah, but that's a good question. Yeah, staying in some sort of shape as a photographer is necessary.
I
Because,
tell you all of that. You cannot let yourself go as a
yeah.
photographer because you're carrying so much weight, so much work, and you're up and down. You're moving from place to place, and it is taxing to be a photographer. It's
Mhm.
more than just kind of like standing in one place and taking a shot.
Right.
It's a lot of movement, ups and downs, and walking. So, what is the difference? Now, you said credential, right? I think it's credential.
Hmm.
W- Why is it so hard to get credentials?
Well, for the racetrack, it's difficult because they want you to have a letter of assignment from a
Mm-hmm.
publication or from a race team or something
Mm,
like that. You know, you can't just say, well, hey, I'm a professional photographer, I'm a freelance photographer. These are examples of my work. And you know, can I get a media pass for,
mm-hmm.
the event? Now there are some events that's not related to motorsport. I just sent somebody a DM on Instagram, and next thing you know, we're corresponding. And you know, it's that easy. But I think with with motorsport, and I think with just the exclusivity and safety issues and all those things, and you go through a debriefing, because I know people who've done
Mm.
it, and you get all these, all these safety measures that you have to sign off on and things like that, and things that you can't do, things that you can do, track marshals and things like that that you have to correspond with, and
Mm-hmm.
all the things that come with that, and that's totally understandable.
Yeah, it's the same
Um,
thing like here, like when we like I'm on the streets photographing,
mhm,
and then I'll send some photos out. But to get a press pass, like for instance, there's certain things I won't do unless I have a press pass.
right.
And it requires, and I missed one of my windows to get my press pass, because you have to always have at least I think it's two photos in a recent publication,
Hmm.
and there's some other things that go along with it to get your press pass, so I've been told. And so, um, a lot of folks say, Ron, what are you out in the protests? I said, no, because you don't want to be out in that environment without your press pass.
Right.
One is because you are just considered to be part of the protests, or if
Hmm.
they want to arrest everyone, they're going to arrest you too.
Right.
That's why the press pass is so important. So the credentials is very important when you are photographing in certain areas and certain arenas. Here's a question for you. Derek
Hmm.
says, do you shoot drag racing as well as Formula One racing?
I haven't shot drag racing yet. It is something that I want to do. It's
Hmm.
just not having the opportunity just yet. Um, I'm traveling, or like, just take last year for instance. Every After when they had an event,
Hmm.
I was gone.
Mm.
I was gone. I was, something for some kind of family event. We were traveling. It just happens that way. And so yeah. Yeah, drag racing is something that, I definitely want to do, because those cars are amazing as well. And
Yeah.
they develop, and they create a whole lot of horsepower, to get those cars down the track.
And
And
that's a straight line. Drag racing is the
yeah,
straight line, so there's no
straight line. Yeah,
circle, straight
yeah,
line. And wow, so and you have a regular job, you have a
right,
professional
yeah,
job outside of being a professional,
right,
photographer.
yeah,
So you're doing both, and you're raising, you have a family. So
right, yeah,
Chrissy says, great question. If you have guys, if you have any other questions, make sure you put the Q and then put the question. Thank you guys for already doing that, like G and Derek.
yeah.
So where do you see? I mean, like when I go to your website, let me just see if I can grab that website up here. And you can go to his website here. It's ARphotog, shootproof.com. And you can see some of these amazing, like we would consider these the best of the best.
Mhm. Yeah,
And but look at that shot. Look, I mean, on the corner, on the edge, it's just, I mean, not that I'm a sports photographer, I know anything about this, other than I just know, it's something about sports photography for we layman photographers that are photographers that
mhm,
look at sports photography,
right,
is that the shot when you see it.
yeah,
We may not know as in regular, we regular photographer, we photograph other stuff.
right,
But when you see the photo, the photo. You're like, yeah, this is one of the tops. I mean, look at
right,
that. I mean, I love it. Like I said, it's to me one of the most fascinating of photography. And so I've read it is the most expensive of photography,
yeah,
sports photography, because
yeah.
of the lenses you guys
Yeah,
use.
I don't own a telephoto prime. I think my wife would kill me if I told her that, yeah, I just dropped
You spent $20,000 on one, right?
$16,000 on a, or 20 grand on a lens,
Yes,
you know. Yeah. So you're walking around with a used car
literally.
on the front of your camera, but yeah, so I think I can justify the purchase once it starts making money.
Yeah, once it makes the money, I always say the 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 art will sponsor the tools needed to
Right.
get you to the next level.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is really cool stuff. But you do more than this, just that. Let me just go see if I can get back to your page here. Take me back there. Hold on a second. Here we go. You also do event photography.
Yeah.
Here's some more sports photography, basketball, and so you do a lot. You really get that camera out there.
Yeah.
What is it? Now, how did you get into photographing hockey?
I like it. So I
There are not too many of us.
yeah,
when I
I know.
when I used to go to the hockey game here in New York, I used to go to the Ranger games because
Yeah.
my one of my bosses had tickets and they would give us the tickets and I would feel like where are all the black folks?
There was a
I was
brother
like,
that just retired from hockey too. We gotta replace
yes,
him. So I freelanced for Dallas Weekly, which is a local
okay,
black owned publication here in Dallas. And at the time, it was like, well, I know you're in the sports photography, so we're gonna get you credentialed, and we're going to get you into these Stars games and these Mavs games, so we can have a sports presence in the magazine, because they do a lot of editorial work, and they
mm,
put me on a lot of stuff that's going on in our community as well, because there were
wow,
some things that I've covered for them that were
ooh, look at
really
this shot.
really cool. Yeah, that was from a high school football camp I shot last summer. That was a lot of fun.
I mean,
Uh,
both of them in the air like that, and the ball, and that man.
yeah, it's one of my favorite shots. So yeah, so they knew that that was something that I was interested in doing, and they finally got a sports writer, and yeah, so I was able to get into the games, and I haven't shot any Stars games
Hmm.
um this season, unfortunately, because the person that was doing my credentials is no longer with the publication.
Right.
So right now I'm in the process of looking for another publication
Okay.
to freelance for, or to work for, um, full time, if that's a possibility.
Wow.
Um, so just putting that out there. If you know
Putting
somebody,
it out into the world. That's what
right?
you got to put it out in the universe. You got to put it out there into the world. People
Yeah,
don't know what you're looking for unless you put it out there.
right. Yep. So
Nice.
I certainly enjoy shooting for the Dallas Weekly. I still do. One of my most tense assignments, I'll say, was when we can just dip your toe into the political thing for just a moment, is when I shot a protest
Mm,
after Roe v. Wade was repealed.
nice.
So this was a bunch of pro-choice people that were out,
Hmm.
and down near downtown Dallas. And I thought I might have had the photos up on there, but
Let me, I'm
I'll,
gonna,
I'm
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 gonna
sure
check.
it's somewhere.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was a bit nerve wracking, because you have your face in their viewfinder, and you never know when something's going to pop off. And it was only like a handful of counter protesters out there, and they had folks out there that was protecting the pro-choice people. You know, they had
Yes.
their, you know, AR-15s out and things like that. So I'm just like, where are the cops? I'm standing over here by y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So if it pop
Mm-hmm.
off, I'm good. You know, and like you said, I had my press pass on. It's blue, so you can't miss it. You
Yes.
know, but thankfully everything was cool. It was a peaceful protest, and um, and it worked out, and I got some amazing shots, and I might have to put those up somewhere for.
Yeah, you could put those into
I
your
thought
event section,
I'm
right?
pretty sure they're on Instagram
Yeah,
somewhere.
there's somewhere I'm looking
Yeah,
for them now, but what's great about there is a strategy to photographing in the protests.
right,
I always share that depending on the situation, you want to also, if you have the safe space, you're going to use the viewfinder. If not, you can use the screen in the back of, kind of like
right.
just use the display screen. And I always seem to find a lamp post or some kind of solid structure to kind of like gird myself in, so that way as protesters are moving or actions happening, they can
Yeah,
move past me, and it doesn't I won't get knocked down or or pushed down or whatever,
right.
because I'm anchored in some kind of state, very solid state. I always
Yeah,
say find a lamppost. Lampposts are the greatest part about being a photographer in New York City. Find one, get next to it, and be on the opposite side of it as the
yeah.
traffic is moving, as the people are moving. Well, anyway, we're going to close up, but I have a question for you.
Sure.
What would you tell, and now that you had these years in photography, you had these experiences, and what would you tell your 16-year-old self about where you want to go and where you want to be?
Don't put the camera down.
Mm,
You know, stick with it. Find mentors early, and that was a thing. Like growing up, I didn't have any examples. You know, I know Omar from church,
yes.
and I knew he was a photographer,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know he was the man. And
Shout out to Omar
yeah,
Ramos.
definitely shout out to Omar Rainbow. Very, very cool dude. Um, and he gives me a hard time, but I know that's because he cares. I think if he doesn't give you a hard time, then he's not bothered with you.
Well, let me tell you, like I said, I've known Omar for almost 40 years, which is kind of shocking to me.
Yeah,
and he has loved the craft of photography for ever since I met him. That's been his thing. And but yeah, so that's a good one. When you're 16 years old, you look back at your 16-year-old. So I always use that. You know why I always ask that question is because somewhere there may be a 16-year-old that may watch this,
yeah,
and they're going to get some advice from a photographer or whoever speaking, and be able to say, "Hey, I'm 16, so I'm 15, or I'm 17 years old." And when you can give them that one like nugget, that
yeah,
golden nugget, that they can say, "You know what? I need that." And I remember when I first started my photography journey as a photographer, as professional, and I went to this art gallery show, and the photographer is David Yarrow, and David Yarrow is an amazing world-renowned photographer. His work is in Buckingham Palace, in the
mm,
White House, all these different places. And he says in this big gallery event that we are in, and he says, if I get one great shot in the year, it was a good year. You know?
definitely.
And it was almost like it gave me a beautiful moment of exhaling,
Yeah,
because I was like, wait a minute, this guy is his photos are on buses in New York City for tag watches, and
hmm,
he's got these big wildlife billboards around the world and travels all over the planet, and he says, if I get one great shot in the year, it was a good year.
Yeah.
And I remember that moment. It took all the pressure off to
Definitely.
just enjoy photography.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
enjoy photography. Just get out there, do it, love it, embrace it, feel it, smell it, taste it. And if you get one great shot in that year, then it was a good year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. Oh, man.
That's amazing.
So, man. And you thought you had nothing to say, Anthony.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. So I'm telling my wife, I said, so there's this podcast that I watch every day. It's Touch Base Daily. It's is a photographer that hosts it, and he wants me to be on the show. And she's like, "Oh, that's awesome." He's like, "How do you feel about that?" I'm like, I've seen the caliber of photographers that has come through this show, and to be asked is a huge honor. You've got, Omar, who's been, you wouldn't notice to look at him, but he's been shooting for almost as long as I've been alive. And
Yes.
and you've got all these other guys, and then you've got like Jamel Shabazz, and which is another photographer who I would love to meet, because I'm just fascinated by his photography and everything that he's done, especially in the 80s, in New York during that time. It was a hot spot.
He is a shout out to Mr.
Yeah.
Jamel Shabazz. It's just I mean, his work is incredible.
Right. I mean, if he was still around, you would probably have Gordon Parks on your show as well.
That's right. Exactly. I plan to get them all. I'm planning to get every single living person on here because this is a great platform to share people's work. And I really believe that there's no like, oh, this person's been in it 40 years is better than the person that's been in it 4 days.
Right.
No, if you love photography, you embrace photography, then this is a platform that you can share your love and share what you do. And so I am thankful that you popped on with us today, and thank you for being a part of the community. Thank you for you show up almost every day here with the rest of us, and so
it's an amazing community.
It's really good to have you, man. And so thank you so much. Guys, we're going to, if you want to see the repeat of this, it's going to be on Indie Soup this evening at 4:00. And it definitely will be on a repeat while I'm on vacation. So you'll be able to catch it again as well if you missed it today. But this was absolutely wonderful. Anthony, guys, if you enjoyed this, did I do my banners? I didn't do my banners, right?
You gotta do the banners.
I gotta get my what's the rule here? Let me get that here. Let me get that banner up here. I should have been like doing that, right? Here we go.
I can put that on my Facebook post. Like, share, and subscribe.
There you go. So if you are in this and you enjoy this, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
And share with someone that's in the photography world, someone that loves photography or loves sports photography, because this was fascinating. You answered a lot of questions, and I could stay here and give you 1,000 more, because I think it's one of the most fascinating genres of photography, the sports world. And like you taught me something, just shutter speed at 60. I would have never thought that.
Yeah.
I would have never, but that you just gave me one extra tool in my toolbox if I decide to photograph a car riding around on a highway or photographing something that's moving.
Well, we'll talk more because I'll be in New York next month. So.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
That's right. We got to get. We'll be getting together, and make sure you bring your camera.
Oh, I'll definitely have that.
We are hanging. I see. Rashawn says, "This was awesome, Ron, and thank you, Anthony." Chrissy says, "Great interview." Kim says she's now following your IG.
Thank you.
And G says, amazing conversation. Keep doing what you're doing. And Kim has applauds. And then Chris says, great conversation. Okay, guys, we're
Thanks,
out of
everybody.
here. And thank you so much. Thank you, audience, for being with us and sharing this time with us. We have to go. We have to let you guys go. And see you tomorrow. Yeah, I'm trying to get this together here. Oh, before I get tomorrow, Gwendolyn and I will be together because Chris will be away. I mentioned that in the beginning. So it'll be Gwendolyn and I tomorrow hosting together. Okay, now we're out. Bye.
All right.